don't participate in your own oppression. We drive on then, guys. Fingers crossed. Comment box stays with us. Yes, it did. A man jailed for 8 years for transporting over €6 million worth of cannabis, and this is a case that was before the Dublin courts. €6 million worth of cannabis is a fair amount of cannabis in fairness, like, but was anybody going to die as a result of this? Like, maybe if they didn't pay up on their debts when they owed it, but again, that's down to prohibition that would be the case. But you know, like, does this guy actually really deserve 8 years in jail for cannabis? He was bringing €6 million worth of goodness to people, in fairness. Like, if it was good herb and it was high THC and good quality, man, all he was going to do is just bring smiles to people, bring the munchies, bring fucking healing from whatever suffering that would be afflicting people out there. But instead now the guy's getting 8 years, and simply for transporting it as well. You know, this person was not the head honcho, just some guy given the keys to a truck or whatever and said, like, you know, come here, drive this on over there to Ireland or whatever it is. But yeah, this is a man who was caught transporting over €6 million worth of cannabis and is being jailed for 8 years by the name of Anthony Kinghorn, and he's 48 years of age. And he was arrested along with another man by a derelict field after they had collected and transported the drugs which had entered into the country from abroad. The Dublin Circuit Criminal Court heard that this was an operation which involved a high level of advanced planning. In other words, money. Whose money? Our money, taxpayers' money. What was it doing? Preventing us access to the bloody plant we all want anyway, that we should be making taxes from instead of bloody wasting it on. Ah, man. But anyway, after the high-level and advanced planned operation, and that Gardaí seized a mobile phone equipped with software to ensure law enforcement agencies were unaware of the movements of those involved. So the cops had basically intercepted their communications by obtaining one of the mobile devices that they were using to communicate on. Unfortunate for the lads, like, you know, they were thinking that they were operating with impunity, but not, that the cops caught up with them. It says here that Anthony has 20 previous convictions recorded in the UK, including convictions for supply of controlled drugs, possession of controlled drugs, and possession of an offensive weapon and battery also. Detective Garda Val Russell told Garrett McCormack that was prosecuting that the Gardaí received information that cannabis with a value in excess of 6 million had entered into the country through the Dublin port, and a controlled delivery was put in place. Detective Garda Russell said the co-accused of Mr. Kinghorn had travelled to Dublin from London the previous week, staying for 4 days before returning. Mr. Kinghorn was responsible for organising the flights and accommodation. The detective said that on the date in question in October 2020, the Gardaí observed the co-accused sign for 6 pallets containing the drugs at a legitimate logistics company. The drugs were then loaded into a van which was driven by the co-accused Mr. Kinghorn as a passenger. The van stopped outside a derelict field in Clorane, and the men were, or Clorane is it? And the men were arrested as they were trying to open the field's gate. The cannabis was discovered in the pallets underneath a box containing worn shoes. Detective Garda Russell said Gardaí also seized a mobile phone which had a level of encryption designed to stop law enforcement from accessing it and was not connected to the internet. Oh, sorry, actually, so the cops didn't intercept those communications. They just got tipped off on the fact that this was arriving into the country, and then after catching the boys, did they get the old device there that was heavily encrypted. But the detective agreed with James Dwyer, defending that his client used his own name and passport to book accommodation. And Mr. Dwyer said his client had a significant history, but there are other sides to his personality, and he appears to be a good family man. He said his client is involved in coaching local sports teams in London. Counsel said his client would undertake to leave the jurisdiction and not return as a part of a suspended portion of a sentence. So again, this dude is looking to be left off, like, do you know what I mean? Go on, get out of Ireland and don't come back. Go on over to the UK there, look, and you'll be grand. But again, like, look at this, like, all the guy's doing is moving a bit of cannabis, like. It seems like it says here that the guy is a good family man and he's involved in coaching local sports teams. Like if we were to lock this guy up, you've got the local sports team losing who was probably a good coach. It's very unfortunate, you know. This guy was probably not a bad guy. He got caught with a lot of bloody cannabis, in fairness. Like, as I say, he's probably operating at the lower level, you know, maybe just transporting it, getting a couple of grand there, you know, that he was going to be using for his own family. Like, what's so bad about that, really? Like, when all of the people who would have bought that cannabis would have been quite happy as the opportunity of being able to buy it. And I just think 8 years is way too much for this, like. Like, it doesn't fit the punishment is not fitting the crime, in fairness. Like, while he stands to gain a lot of money, there was no harm going to come of somebody, really. Like, you know, again, unless maybe he's a rootless thug, like, and enforced his business with violence and stuff. But again, that's prohibition. Judge Greeley said it involved the use of a mobile phone equipped with software to ensure law enforcement agencies were unaware of the movements of Mr. Kinghorn and his associates. The judge said it is clear Mr. Kinghorn is a hands-on family man who is very supportive of his own family members. She said he will serve a sentence without the support of his family and in a country where he does not appear to have any connections. Judge Greeley sentenced Mr. Kinghorn to 10 years imprisonment, but suspended the final 2 years of the sentence on strict conditions, including that he undertake to leave the jurisdiction within 1 week of his release from custody and not return for 10 years. So again, you know, this guy is going to spend 8 years in Ireland's prisons at a cost of over 100,000 per year per prisoner in Ireland. You know, that's the average cost. That's us, the taxpayers, are paying for it. Now, in fairness, look, he's probably going to lose maybe, or he's probably going to get off with about 4 years, or maybe 6 years. He probably might get out in 2 years for good behaviour. Do you know, he's up there for what, like a bit of cannabis. Nobody was going to die from it. It's like the lower end of crimes that you can really commit, regardless of the amount. He could have fucking 100 million of it, like, and I still don't think he should be getting 8 years, like, because again, no one was going to bloody die, like, you know. So again, I support this guy. You know, this guy shouldn't be going to prison. We shouldn't be, as taxpayers, paying to lock this guy up. And we shouldn't be overcrowding our prisons with people like himself when he is not a violent offender. Again, he's a family man. Let this man out of prison. Let him return to his family. Let him go back into his community and contribute as he was as a coach, helping young and up-and-coming athletes in whatever sport it was. Like... And I can kind of relate to this one myself, because last year, when I got my most recent summons to appear before the courts, I stopped going to my local J club where I was coaching as a coach for the nursery group. I just couldn't do it anymore. I knew I was going to be going back to courts. I knew things were going to be escalating around my campaign, and it was just something that I was, I don't know, I just felt like I wasn't going to be accepted up there, but it was going to be bad, I suppose, really, like in the image of the club. Not to mention the fact that I would not have been able to get the Garda Vetting completed as well, because the Garda Vetting was required up there, and having an upcoming court case for drugs would have disqualified me from that. So I just kind of seen fit to just distance myself from it, like, and I loved it. I loved coaching the kids up there in the nursery group. It was great enjoyment every Thursday evening. I really loved instilling the fundamentals of movement and balance in kids, like, because it was just so fun and it was so rewarding. And I was robbed of that opportunity. Like, our community was robbed of what is another person who is willing to contribute and to try to help our community. But instead now, you know, I have to go back. I'm not, I don't feel like I can go out there again, as I said, like, you know, this Garda Vetting thing, that was going to be a barrier that would have kept me away from this. And unfortunately now, you know, not only have the kids been robbed of a good coach, but I've been robbed of an opportunity to, you know, go out and contribute to my community. So I kind of relate to this one in that sense, like, but that's a queer bit of cannabis, alright, in fairness, like, but as I say, even if it was 100 million worth of cannabis, the guy shouldn't have got fucking 8 years.